The highway was a chaotic mess, vehicles honking impatiently in a gridlock that stretched as far as the eyes could see. At the center of the snarl, a lone car sat motionless, stranded in the middle lane, causing a wave of frustration among drivers. Two women cautiously approached the car, sensing something amiss. As they peered inside, they were startled to find a 3-year-old girl sitting alone in the back seat, her innocent eyes wide open with frustration. Meanwhile, a passerby quickly dialed the police, explaining the situation. Moments later, the wail of sirens pierced through the cacophony. Patrol officers from Rice County, Minnesota, arrived to find the women, now with sleeves rolled up, desperately trying to push the empty tanked car out of the way while the little girl watched from inside. The scene was a mixture of urgency and compassion, as the officers jumped to help clear the road and ensure the safety of the child. The women went ahead and explained that the owner of the vehicle had rushed out to find some gas, leaving the poor girl inside the car alone. Moments later, the officers are alerted that there is a suspicious man running down the highway, and it was being suspected he was the little girl's father. The police drove right after him, only to confirm the suspicion of him being the girl's father. He identified as Justus Kibabe. On the side of the highway, under the harsh glare of police flashlights, he looked wild, unfocused eyes trying to explain, his voice trembling, that he had only left his car to find gas. But the way he stammers and shakes hints at a mind frayed at the edges, lost in the shadows of fear. He looked quite distressed as they drove him back to the scene where he had left his daughter. The night was thick with darkness, save for the flashing red and blue lights from another patrol car parked near Justus' stranded vehicle in the middle of the highway. As they approached, one officer called out, "Sir, is this your car?" He nodded, but his slight response raised more alarms. "Just ran out of gas," he mumbled. The officers decided to perform a sobriety test right there on the roadside, surrounded by the hum of passing traffic and the stinging chill of the night air. The suspect tried to follow their command, but his balance wavered and he staggered to walk a straight line. His eyes were glassy, his movement clumsy, and he could not focus on the officer's finger as instructed. "Have you been drinking?" an officer asked, watching him fail the test. As an act of self-defense, Justus confessed that he had taken Tylenol, but it was just for a headache. But his condition suggested otherwise. The officers were not convinced. His reflexes were sluggish, and his speech still slurred. Moments later, they cuffed his hands and led him to the back of the police car, his protests drowned out by the rumble of cars speeding past, headlights cutting through the darkness. Justus was held at Rice County Law Enforcement Center in Minnesota, waiting for drugs experts to further run tests on him. Kibabe went through a lot of pressure while there, until he finally told the police at Rice County that he had returned home only to find his wife Bilha Omare dead in the bathroom out of a diabetic reaction. The detectives got quite concerned about the children, since they discovered that he was already a father to 2 more children, besides the daughter who he had left in the car. He told them that we are not supposed to mind about the kids, because they were with an uncle, a brother to Justus called Evans, who happened to live in the US too. The authorities decided to confirm his information, but to their surprise, upon calling Evans, he said quite the opposite, confirming that he had not seen his brother's kids for a while now, and neither did he have any news about Bilha Amare's death. However, Evans added that he had called Kibabe's house a few hours earlier, only to check on the family's welfare. No one picked the call. A few hours ago, Justus had been calling a few members of his family, crying and in distraught, stating that if he died, he wanted to be buried in the USA. Out of distress, Evans had tried to call Bilha several times, but he failed to get through to her. He did not have much option but to now involve the authorities in the matter. Evans dialed 911 call at the Ramsey County Police Station, which was Kibabe's area of residence. He requested for a welfare check by officers since Justus had claimed that he was going to commit suicide. The officers had checked Bilha's place of work, only to realize that she had missed out on 2 working days, Monday and Tuesday, which was unusually her trend. Her supervisor stated that she was always committed and would not miss out on work just like that. October 13, 2010, a Wednesday, was going to be the 3rd day without her reporting for work. At around 23:00 hours at the same Wednesday night, the Ramsey County police officers were dispatched to go check the Kibabe's family. Upon arrival at the apartment, the house is quite dark, but there is a TV that is on. They announced their arrival by the doorstep, but no one responded. The premises manager helped the officers to access the house since the matter was becoming quite suspicious, and upon getting inside, the doors to all the rooms were locked. The caretaker summons for a locksmith quickly, and he helps the officers access the room. First, they go to the bathroom. There, they found an adult woman, non-responsive and already dead. Her body had begun to become discolored. There was blood flowing to the floor, oozing right from her head. She was identified as Bilha Omare, Justus Kibabe's wife. Would you like to know a little about Justus Ogendi Kibabe's background? I believe you do. Justus Kibabe was born on the 10th of March in the year 1967. He was born at Gezare village in Nyaribari Chache area in Kisii County, Kenya. Since his childhood, Justus always wanted to join nursing as a profession. His opportunity became fully fledged when he applied for a nursing school in the USA and got a chance. At this moment, when fate was working on his favor, he was already married to his long-term lover, Bilha Omare. Bilha was from Matunu village in the same area of Nyaribari Chache, Kisii County. In 1996, Justus officially left for the US, leaving behind his wife. A few years passed by, and by the grace of God, he got a job. He started working as an assistant nurse. His wife followed in the year 2003. She too had already applied for a nursing course in the US, and they were blessed with 3 beautiful children. By 2010, Justus was in the US for 14 years and Bilha 7 years. Back to Kibabe's apartment. Since Kibabe was not among his family members, an alert was released for his missing. To the officer's surprise, Kibabe was already in custody where he was arrested for driving while under drugs influence. He bailed out of Rice County, but was immediately arrested by the Ramsey County officers with homicide charges. Later, Kibabe reportedly told investigators he hit his wife on the head with a golf club and strangled her with an electrical wire, according to a criminal complaint. Kibabe then gave his children cranberry mixed with Tylenol PM pills before holding his son's head under water in the bathtub until he stopped moving. He then laid him in his bed nicely. His name was Kingsley Ogendi. Kibabe reportedly had then smothered his daughter with a pillow and strangled her. He laid her on bed too. She was found dead, also alone in her room. Her name was Ivan Ogendi. After killing the 3, Kibabe swallowed Tylenol PM pills and then put a bag over his head, but had second thoughts when he realized he had not made plans for their youngest child. The 2 dead children had come from school Monday night and went to bed. They did not know that their mother was lying dead in the bathroom. The next morning, Kibabe told investigators he drugged the children. When his son Kinley went to take a bath, Kibabe followed him and held him under the water. Kinley said, "Stop, Dad, stop," Kibabe told the detectives. When Kinley stopped struggling, Kibabe placed his body in his bed and locked the door. Kinley died of freshwater drowning and a possible drug overdose, a medical examiner stated. Kibabe then went to his elder daughter's bedroom, where she was dressed and lying on the bed. He put a pillow over her head and smothered her. Kibabe later said he also choked her until she was dead. He left her body in the bed. Ivan died of asphyxia from strangulation and a probable drug overdose. After a state of confusion, Kibabe snapped back to reality. He took his surviving daughter to the vehicle and he started driving, heading nowhere in specific. That is when he was arrested after his car ran out of gas. The relationship between Kibabe and his wife was shaky before the killings. He was jealous of his wife. Bilha was working at a senior living facility and planning to graduate from a nursing program in December the same year of her demise. Kibabe, who used to be a registered assistant nurse, had lost his job. He believed a past conviction for attacking Omare in 2008 hindered his job search. An already violent relationship boiled over, with Kibabe's fear his wife would abandon the marriage once she graduated, as well as his suspicion she was cheating on him. Bilha had denied being unfaithful, adding that Kibabe was over-imagining her interactions with her male classmates and co-workers. Justus had reported Bilha to his relative that Bilha had become disrespectful, yet he's the one that brought her to the USA. The couple appeared to be a normal, happy family, but they were private people, especially Kibabe. Bilha did confide with a friend called Harris about the abuse. Although Harris never saw any signs of physical injury on Bilha or the children, she said she would hear Kibabe verbally abusing them in the background while she was on the phone with Bilha. The family turmoil became public in December 16, 2008, when Kibabe was arrested and accused of pushing Omare and threatening to hit her with a vacuum. Bilha told a deputy about past abuse and said she thought Kibabe might kill her. She confessed in her statement, adding that on one event back in Kenya, Justus had brutally beaten her up until she passed out. However, he was a bit careful with the physical assault back in the USA, since that was a crime taken so seriously in the US. His nursing license was also revoked for a whole year when he struggled without a job. This built in some bitterness towards his wife Bilha. He felt that she was the cause of his predicament. Bilha said that she lived daily with serious mental abuse. Kibabe denied pushing Omare and said he's never hit her. He later pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct. Court records showed he was jailed for 3 days and was sentenced to a year of supervised probation, which expired in August. He also was ordered into a domestic abuse counseling and treatment and completed a 6-week class. The closer Bilha came to graduation, the more the tense couple's relationship became, Harris had said. When Harris saw Bilha Omare for the last time, it was on October 2nd. Omare said Kibabe was creating obstacles to prevent her from attending school and finishing her homework. Justus successfully served his sentence and finally his license was ratified back. But 3 months again after getting back his license, he committed the gruesome killing. Bethlehem Belan, shelter program supervisor at Alexandria House, a domestic and sexual abuse shelter in Blaine, said domestic violence can become heightened among immigrant families who are dealing with power struggles between male and female roles. Many women tend to gain more independence after moving to the US, she said. They discover that they can work outside the home and may pursue an education. The men feel like they are losing control of what they are and their families. Belan said, "It's threatening when someone has more control and more power." Domestic violence continues to be a problem in all communities, said Ramsey County Attorney Susan Gardner. However, it is more difficult to immigrant women to ask for help because of the cultural and sometimes economic pressures to remain silent. Kibabe made his first appearance in Ramsey District Court on Friday, wearing a green Kevlar vest to prevent him from harming himself. The night before Kibabe appeared before the court, he had tried to commit suicide. It was a guard making his regular 15-minute inmate checks who found Kibabe on the floor the night before his court appearance. Ramsey County Sheriff Bob Fletcher said Kibabe never lost consciousness and a nurse determined he didn't need to be hospitalized. 3 weeks after the killing, he pleaded guilty for 3 counts of second-degree murder at Ramsey County District Court. On January 14, 2011, the sentencing commenced. He was given a chance to defend himself, but rather, he said he had nothing to say, but was crying throughout the sentencing. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive sentences of 25.5 years each, amounting to a total of 76.5 years. His defense attorney Bruce Wenger requested a concurrent sentencing rather than a consecutive one. He argued that justice had been cooperative and had admitted the murder charges quickly. On top of that, he had first drugged his children before killing them, and so he did not cause them too much pain. He added his argument saying the death was quick and less painful. Eric Leonard, another prosecutor, asked the district judge Elena Othpay to impose a consecutive sentencing for Kibabe without showing any leniency. He said that Kibabe's wild behavior towards Bilha had been ongoing for a long time, and so the whole murder case was also done through premeditation and not an act of impulse. Judge Elena finally agreed with Eric's argument, and she maintained her stand, and so Justus Kibabe finally received a consecutive sentencing. The judge stated that imposing a concurrent sentencing would be unfair to the 3 victims, and it would appear as if they had finally dismissed the 2 little kids' lives. After the sentencing, Bilha's family members went through another 12 of hard moments. They had been grieving their loss even through the sentencing. An uncle to Bilha by the name Peter Masongo said that the family was shattered by the news of Bilha and the 2 kids' death. He argued that he was sure some people would still find reason as to why justice should be moving around freely among civilized people. But given to what he had put the family and the community through, he deserved no peace or freedom. Bilha's brother by the name of Danvers Omare confirmed that Bilha's relatives had planned to come to Minnesota for a graduation ceremony for Bilha. They were to fly from the East Coast and others from Africa, Kenya, but unfortunately, they instead attended Bilha's burial with only 2 months away from her graduation. Danvers mourned the fact that his sister never lived her American dream since her life was taken by Justus. Justus was just a sick man who only pretended to love Bilha. There had never been a solid reason as to why Justus spared his little daughter Savannah. During this tribulation, Savannah was in the custody of Ramsey County, but the family of Bilha requested for the girl's custody later. Some family members wanted to have the 3 bodies buried in New Jersey. A memorial service was held at St. Patrick's Church in Jersey City, and at this time, Bilha's family members expressed their fear that Justus' family would try to stop them from burying their demised loved ones. Additionally, they said that they also feared that Justus' family would try to get the custody of Savannah. Their suspicions would turn out right, since in November 2010, Justus's family members had tried to interfere with the burial. A serious battle took place between Evans, Justus' brother, and Danvers, Bilha's brother. Bilha's brother requested the Minnesota state to hand him over the bodies of his sister and her children so that he can have them laid to rest at New Jersey, where he lived. He argued that it would give Savannah a chance to process the ordeal someday, as well as grieve her loss. For Evans, he wanted to have the deceased airlifted to Kenya, where they would be buried at Justus's rural home. His argument laid on the requirements that comes along with the norms and customs of the Abaguzii people. Bilha was officially married to Justus, and so she and the 2 children were supposed to be buried at Justus's home. Evans had gone to court to have the process barred through a court order. He claimed that Danvers and his family members had gone through with their burial arrangements without involving Justus's family. On top of that, he claimed that Bilha's brother had not bought a ground where he would lay Bilha and the 2 children. On November 10th, the 3 bodies were flown to Jersey City. This is after the authorities in Minnesota sided with Danvers and stated that they only recognized the blood members of the deceased as next of kin and the people who will bear the burden. The burial was to officially happen on the 15th of November, but due to travel challenges in Kenya, they had to postpone it. A few close relatives of Bilha, her mother included, had been denied visas at the Kenya embassy, and there was no way the burial could have proceeded without their presence. Kenyans joined together, both at home and back in the US, and protested at the embassy, demanding for visas to be offered to the Omares family members. Through the influence of politicians by the name Senator Robert Menendez and Donald Payne, the matter was addressed as quickly as possible. The intervention made it easier for the Omares family members to get visas within very few days. They flew to New Jersey. On the 19th of November 2011, at the Rosemont Memorial Park, Elizabeth, family and friends held a private body viewing and burial. Kibabe is still in prison up to date and is expected to be set free at a very old age of approximately 95 years. The story is a harrowing reminder of the complexities that often accompany immigrants' experiences in foreign lands. This case sheds light on the profound challenges faced by individuals trying to adjust to new cultural, social, and economic realities. It underscores how stress, mental health issues, and other underlying factors can spiral into violence, tearing apart families and communities. The unfortunate loss of innocent lives in this tragedy calls for a greater awareness and intervention strategies that address mental health and domestic violence issues within immigrant communities. Reflecting on this tragedy, it is crucial to consider how such incidences can be prevented in the future. The story of Justus Kibabe should serve as a wake-up call for both the authorities and support organizations to provide more robust mental health services and community support systems. Additionally, fostering dialogue around the unique pressures that immigrants face and creating culturally sensitive resources could help prevent similar tragedies. Ultimately, this case highlights the need for a collective effort to ensure the well-being and safety of families navigating the challenges of building a life in a new country.